Hi, my name is Robert May, and I am a Juilliard-trained singer, artist, and vocal coach. And this is the How to Learn a Song series. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to prepare lyrics. So we're going to be diving deeper into your text. Now, if you're a singer, you're actually two things. You're a musician, and you're an actor. In the last video, we talked a lot about musicianship and how to learn your song. But in this video, we're going to be talking about how to prepare the song like an actor. Now, I say acting very broadly. If you are stepping into someone else's shoes, and if you're not going through exactly to a T what you are singing about in the moment, then I say that you are an actor and that you should prepare the song like an actor. Everyone has a different method of working through text. Some people spend a lot of time just thinking about it and then they're able to get on stage and it's fine. Some people love to journal. Some people spend a lot of time thinking about the text. Some people, it just kind of clicks and they can do it. So this is one method of doing it. This is my method. And so if this is helpful to you, I hope that you can pick up a few tools that'll help you on your journey and as you develop your own method to learning a song. You will need a big notebook, and don't make the error that I always make of getting a notebook that's way too small. Get yourself a really big notebook with tiny little lines, because we're going to be doing a lot of writing, and the more that you can see at one time in your notebook, the better. You're also going to need a pen and a pencil. The pen we're going to use for anything that's permanent and, just generally is not going to change at all. So that's going to be your lyrics. And then pencil you can use for everything else because you might want to erase. The goal for this video is that we're going to link together the message of the song with your own life for the eventual goal of you being able to sing the song like it's your own story. If you're singing a song in your own language, you're going to write out all the lyrics in your notebook line by line, and you're going to leave margin on either side, and you're going to leave about 4 to 5 lines in between every line, and you'll write them out in pen. The next line under the original lyrics is going to be an unpoetic translation of the song. Now, obviously, songs have quite a lot of poetry, quite a lot of imagery, and what I want you to do is I want you to take all of that and I want you to translate that in completely unpoetic, direct terms. So, for example, if you have "you are like a flower" in a song, well, what does that actually mean? Is the poet saying, or the lyricist saying, you are beautiful and sensitive, you are fragile? Whatever you think that is what you're going to write in that line. The next section is going to require a little bit more thought. You're going to think of a memory from your own life or an experience in your own life that relates to the song. And then you're going to translate that memory line by line into the song. So it's going to require some thought because it's got to be a memory that elicits a lot of emotion. So whether that's a happy memory, a sad memory, whatever it is, it's got to bring up a lot of emotion. As you're working on the song, you might discover that whatever memory you use isn't quite enough. It's not quite relevant enough or doesn't elicit enough emotion. So definitely write this section in pencil. I had a student who was 12 years old who was singing the song Moon River. And, he's 12 years old. He doesn't have tons of life experience. But the song Moon River is this song about desiring adventure. And so for him, he tied that to wanting to be back in school from summer vacation. And so the lines, "Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday," became "School, there's so much to do there. I know I'm going to be back in school very soon." And so that worked for him. And as he gets older, if he ever comes back to that song, he might end up choosing a different memory that's a little bit more relevant and that's deeper for him. If you're singing a song that's not from a musical or an opera, that doesn't have a lot of background information baked into the song, you might have to kind of make your own story around the song. So, for example, I sang this song called "Cancer" by the composer Tom Chiapullo. And in the song, a man is processing through the fact that his dad can't admit that his mom has cancer. And there's not really a lot of other background detail than that in the song. And so I made up this whole backstory about how this character is back at home in his hometown, and he's meeting up with a childhood friend, and they meet at a diner, and his friend asks him, "Hey, how are your parents doing?" So, and then he sings the song. So sometimes it can be helpful, and you don't necessarily have to do a line-by-line translation into whatever background story you have. It could be useful, but at the very least, you should make note of what that background story is. It might be after the song, or it might be in the margins, but that can be really helpful. I find that particularly helpful with Italian art songs and arias, just because there's really not a lot of background information in a lot of those songs. So this can be a helpful exercise. If you're singing a song in a foreign language, it's going to be a bit more of a leap to go from the foreign language to your own story. So what you're going to do first is you're going to do the same thing. You're going to write out all the lyrics in the foreign language, leaving margin on both sides, but you're going to leave about 7 or 8 lines after all of those lyrics. Now, if you're really familiar with a language, you might be able to put a lot of the phonetic markings in that line. So, for example, if you are really familiar with how to pronounce Italian, you can write in your accented O's, E's, Z's, and any phrasal doubling in that line. However, if you're not familiar, then you should include all of the phonetic information in the second line. After that, you're going to do the word-for-word translation, write that in directly from your music. You're going to write in your phrase-by-phrase translation, an unpoetic translation, a translation into your life story, and any character stuff. Now that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. However, sometimes the word-for-word translation is the phrase-by-phrase translation. Sometimes the phrase-by-phrase doesn't need much work getting it to the unpoetic translation. And sometimes the unpoetic translation is basically exactly how you would say it. So not every single line is going to be have tons of writing under it. So, and again, also this process is whatever works for you and whatever you want it to be. But I find that when I'm working through a song in a foreign language, some lines have a ton of notes and some lines have 3 notes. Unpoetic translations can have some level of interpretation to them, because ultimately an unpoetic translation is going to help us understand how the song holds together. So for example, I sing the song Across the Universe by John Lennon. And the first line is, "Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup." Now, when I first saw that line, when I was first working on this song, I thought, oh, I'm speaking a lot. And so I wrote in my notebook, I am talking a lot. But as I worked my way through the whole song, I realized, actually, I don't think I'm the one talking. I think that someone else is talking to me. I think words are just kind of coming at me. And then I did a deeper dive into the song, and I discovered that indeed someone was talking to John Lennon, and that's where he got the inspiration for that line. So it's sometimes you can kind of be a little looser in your unpoetic translation to help you get to see how the whole thing holds together. You should know as much as you can about the song. So for starters, it's totally worth it to go on Wikipedia and just read the article about whatever song you're singing. But if your song is from a musical or an opera, do yourself a favor and actually watch the opera or the musical. It's so much better than just reading about it, because you really see the context for whatever you're singing, and you can see the scenes before and afterwards, and it's just a much richer experience. And after you're done watching that, make any notes in your notebook about what you've discovered and who the character is and any other relevant information that you think will help you have a better performance. Know the historical context of your song. So, for example, I sing the song La Vie en Rose by Edith Piaf, and the song was it was released in 1947, which was just after World War II ended. And the whole world was just exhausted and, in trauma. And then she releases this song that's so joyful and hopeful. And it completely blew up because, people didn't want to hear sarcastic, ambiguous kind of music. They wanted something that was simple and hopeful. And, maybe that would distract them from all the pain that they're processing through. So that influences the way that I sing that song, because I don't want there to be any grain of ambiguity in the hope and the blissfulness that I'm communicating when I sing that song. Read about the creative team that created the song. So whether that's the composer, the lyricist, the poet, and also the pop singer or the singer who made it famous, Read about their lives. Oftentimes, songs are made around the experiences of a singer's life. And so you can read about that on Wikipedia, or you can read about that on their Instagram or Twitter. Ultimately, my notebook becomes my primary method of studying a song. I always have the sheet music nearby. I have the recording nearby if I need that, but I really like to see all the research that I've done. I love to see the various translations and all the thought that I've poured into the acting portion of the song. Each song is going to definitely range in how long it takes to prepare it. So a lot of times English songs, because that's my native language, will take me about an hour to do. And foreign language songs, depending on their length, can sometimes take more like an hour and a half. Because sometimes I have to do a little bit more research on figuring out my translations. But that might sound like a lot, but consider the richness that you gain from doing all this research. You have so much to consider when you finally get to interpretation. So an hour invested now is going to have such payoff in the future. So I would highly suggest sit down and do the work. Don't forget to do your vocal exercises alongside all of this. This is a lot of work, and especially if you have a lot of songs at one time, I wouldn't necessarily suggest that you sit down and just try to get through all of them. Sometimes interpretation can take some time to consider, especially when you're considering your own life event, your own experience or memory. Sometimes that can take, a few days or even a few weeks to come up with something that's really relevant. So, give yourself space, work on it a little bit a day, and you will make it through all of your songs. Finally, if you have any other ideas for how to prepare text for a song, please leave them in the comments below. I'm always interested in continuing learning. If you've liked this content, please like, subscribe, and share. And in the next video, we will talk about how to dive deeper into the text. I will see you then.